Good afternoon. Welcome to Battle Creek Public School Board of Education meeting. Today is Monday, October 23rd. It is now 5:31 p.m. We will ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
President Patty Fulbright,
Present.
Vice President Charlie Fulbright,
Here.
Treasurer Nathan Grajek, Secretary Art McClooney, Trustee Catherine LaValle,
Here.
Trustee Nicole Perry,
Present.
Trustee Dr. Alicia Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. We'll now have the introduction of our interpreters.
Lupita Reyes, and I will be the only interpreter today. I only ask that you are providing a language support for me and the other community members. Please just talk slowly and clearly and loudly in order for me to properly interpret what's being said. Hola, mi nombre es Lupita Reyes. Soy la única intérprete que va proveyendo el apoyo de inglés a español y viceversa. Por favor, solo hable despacio, alto y pronunciación correcta para poder adecuadamente interpretar lo que se está diciendo.
Thank you. The chair will now entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
Madam President,
Yes, Vice President Fulbright.
I move that we approve the agenda with any additions and deletions as listed below.
Support.
It's been moved by First Vice President Fulbright, supported by Trustee LaValle. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Thank you. Motion carried. Is there any public comment? I'm gonna go ahead and read it anyways. The Battle Creek Public School Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment in educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the community to express themselves on district matters. We have two opportunities on our agenda tonight for public comment. The Board of Education requests you fill out a public participation form with contact information. As you come to the microphone, please state your name. Each statement made by a speaker shall be limited to a 3-minute duration. If the speaker represents a group, the person will be given 5 minutes to speak. The Battle Creek Public Schools Board of Education will listen, take comments and questions under advisement, and not respond at this time. Public comments will direct all comments to the Board of Education and not to staff or other participants. Okay, the chair will now entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda items.
President Fulbright,
Yes, Trustee LaValle.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the following consent agenda items. A, trust fund swab. B, minutes of the work session on September 11th, 2023, and regular meetings on September 25, 2023. C, bills for the month of September. D, personnel changes and recognition of retirees. E, membership report. F, finance report. G, 21st century I eval contract. H, food service equipment. I, the Coburn Valley View boiler replacement. J, Spanish Academy 80.
Any support?
Support.
It's been moved by Trustee LaValle, supported by Dr. Johnson, that we accept the consent agenda items. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Thank you. Well, for discussion, lights on after school proclamation, Dr. Amara.
Good evening. I'm going to read this proclamation on behalf of Superintendent Kim Carter. It's the Keeping the Lights On After School proclamation for 2023. Whereas Battle Creek Public Schools stands firmly committed to quality after-school programs and opportunities because they provide nurturing, high-quality, and engaging learning experiences that help youth develop social, emotional, physical, and academic skills, and support families by ensuring youth are engaged in supportive learning environments after the regular school day ends, and build stronger communities by involving youth, parents, business leaders in the lives of young people, thereby ensuring all youth thrive. Whereas Kalamazoo Youth Development Network has provided significant leadership in improving outcomes for youth, grounded in the principle that quality after-school programs are key to helping our youth thrive. Whereas Lights On After School, the national celebration of after-school programs held this year on October 26th, promotes the importance of quality after-school programs in the lives of youth, families, and communities. Whereas many after-school programs in our community are facing funding shortfalls so severe that they are being forced to close their doors and turn off their lights. Whereas Battle Creek Public Schools is committed to investing in the health and safety of all young people by providing expanded learning opportunities that will help to ensure all youth thrive. Therefore, be it resolved that Kimberly Carter, as Superintendent for Battle Creek Public Schools, do hereby proclaim October 26th as the Lights On After School Day. And be it further resolved that Battle Creek Public Schools enthusiastically endorses Lights On After School and commits our community to engage in innovative after-school programs and activities that ensure that lights stay on and the doors stay open for all youth after school.
Thank you. Any questions, discussion? Thank you so much. Okay. We'll now have leadership announcement, Alexis Small, Josh.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are very pleased and excited to announce the appointment of Alexis Small as our talent acquisition manager. Mrs. Small began her professional career as a sales representative in the medical and pharmaceutical industry. She continued her career progression in medical and health sciences, taking on the positions as a physician recruiter, a talent acquisition consultant, and most recently as a senior HR consultant and executive recruiter. Mrs. Small understands the challenges that schools face in recruiting highly qualified teachers and staff. When her children were attending elementary middle school, Mrs. Small took a position as a substitute teacher, giving her the ability to see the challenges that schools face in attracting and retaining staff. Mrs. Small's talent as a well-connected, highly resourceful, and innovative recruiter will ensure our district is positioned for success in creating a healthy organizational culture, ensuring we have highly qualified staff to support our student success. Mrs. Small obtained her Bachelor of Science in Marketing from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, which is an HBCU in Greensboro, North Carolina, and is a Recruiter Academy certified recruiter. We welcome Mrs. Small to the Bearcat family, and she's here with me this evening.
Wonderful.
If you want to come up, I'll have her just make a few comments.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. Well, all I want to say is our family is excited to be a part of the Battle Creek community. And I feel privileged, and I am just grateful for the opportunity to be able to serve in this new role that is going to really impact Battle Creek Public Schools and ultimately our community. So thank you again all for the opportunity.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
The Bearcat country. Thanks, Josh. Okay, student supports, Monique Cheeks.
How you guys doing tonight?
Hello.
No offense, I didn't, it looks like I'm not the only one who needs the mic down anymore. So. I just gotta get to, yes, please. So I'm gonna present here for you today, but the gurus of Student Support Connections are Ashley Jones and Rebecca Bolden. So they're here today as well. So if some questions still come up after this, then they may come up and say a few words as well, if that's okay.
Thank
with
you.
this team to help clarify some things. They're the masterminds. That is the people.
I'll give you just a moment, okay? Sorry about the. This is acting very strange all of a sudden. This.
If you go to your box, that has the Q in it, it has a expands to minimize, because it's, yeah, and then the green, yeah. And then you can do share
Mr.
screen.
Tech savvy.
There it is.
There you go.
Very good.
I'm gonna be able to share this.
Got a slideshow.
Maybe I just have to leave it. Oh. Okay, all right. Okay, so what we have today here is our support coordination at each tier. So the first tier we're going to begin with is tier 1 and how our students and our staff access tier 1 supports for students.
We're seeing the note slide.
It's what?
They're seeing
It's
on
on
the
the
notes slide.
presentation view.
Is it
Yeah.
last one?
No, it's showing the presentation view. Like if you turn off the presenter view.
Okay, let me start this here.
I think you, after you share it,
Yeah.
go to slideshow and then just.
So. That one, right? Which one are we going this way?
Yeah.
That's the one that's on.
Okay, which one do you, so that's one.
Well, that's good. This one, just.
I'm not sure. Okay.
There it is.
Yeah, there it goes.
I got it.
Yeah.
So tier 1 supports are supports that are addressed throughout the whole school building. So all students have access to tier 1 support. So tier 1 supports include things like building-wide communication. So here's expectations, here's some encouragements and supports, and here's the resources and supports that are available to everybody in the school. Also, alternative success spaces are available as tier 1 supports for all students. So those will be calming corners and classrooms, student success centers, or just any other alternative spacing that will allow for reflection and places where students can kind of de-escalate themselves and get themselves back into the learning environment. Communities and schools also offers a tier 1 support, which means that they're in every single building and they're there to remove any barriers that come to kids, no matter what tier that they're in. And then you'll see them continue to show up as we build out caseloads and things like that beyond the tiers. Any questions about tier 1? Okay. Good, okay.
That went to the next slide, so.
You guys are seeing the graphic, but that's. Okay, and then what you see right here was developed by Ashley. This is kind of just a visual of how those tiers those supports are accessed at each of those tiers for the buildings to follow along with. Tier 2, it would be your second level of supports. So I'll go back to tier 1 so that we can understand the criteria for a tier 1 student. So a tier 1 student would look like a student who has between 0 and 1 out of school suspensions and or 0 to 1 office discipline referrals. Out of school suspension means that there was a behavior that resulted in the student needing to be suspended out of the school environment. And an office discipline referral means that a behavior occurred inside of the classroom that the teacher was unable to manage in the classroom, and the student had to go outside of the classroom to receive supports for that.
Monique, can you go back to that previous slide? Because it said the school nurse is part of that. There it is, Operation Fit.
Oh,
There
yeah, we
you-
missed it.
Right, oops, right.
Yeah.
Right
Okay.
there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we do have a school nurse in every single elementary building, and those are provided by the Calhoun County Health Department. And so each of our school nurses are providing just basic care, bumps and bruises and things like that at tier 1. And then we also have Grace Health clinics that also have a nurse in our secondary buildings that provide those same supports, but at the secondary level. And those services also can include students who might need immunizations, medication administration, and things like that at that tier 1 level. Operation Fit is also available in every single elementary school. It's a school well-based program that works to the goal to increase physical activity and improve students' nutrition. So that's another tier 1 support that's available to all students, regardless of what tier they're at. School-wide social emotional learning engages the entire school in social emotional learning and well-being of students. And those are your tier 1 supports as well. Thank you for noticing that I missed that one. And so as you can see in here, communities and schools also provides food, clothing, personal hygiene, family resources, and those types of resources at that tier 1 level. Students who are needing to access tier 2 supports are referred by what we call the student support team in each of the school buildings. So that's going to be made up of your support staff generally. So your behavior interventionists, Bearcat coaches, communities and schools representative. There may be some teachers on that. Principal and other building level administrators will also be the folks who would be in charge of identifying students within that student support team level. And those will be students who will need behavioral and social emotional supports. Bearcat coaches are available in every building. There's multiple Bearcat coaches from 2 all the way up to 10 at your larger buildings. And they are trained in de-escalation, mentorship, restorative practices, and other tactics that will help them build trusting relationships with students. These students can be coached by a Bearcat coach in the hallway, in the classroom, or in an alternative space as well. Community schools also acts as a tier 2 support to also remove barriers once we identify that there is a family that's in need. So beyond what their tier 1 supports are, when families are identified as having needs beyond that, they are there to help families access those barriers or address those barriers. And then we have the Rec Center program, which is housed at the YMCA. It is through STAR, and it is the Resilience Empowerment Center. So students at a tier 2 level who have also been identified through student success teams, they will come in at behavior levels in tiers 2 and 3. And students with IEPs just new this year can also attend that program, whereas last year students with IEPs did not have access to that.
Wonderful, great.
Other tier 2 supports include plans and assessments. So assessments are geared to help the teams understand what prompted the change in a student's behavior and help identify the need and possible interventions. Assessments include functional behavior assessments, private logic, and other things that kind of just identify what students are carrying with them that are acting as barriers for them to be successful in the classroom. body mapping, universal needs assessments, and those things can be conducted by Bearcat coaches and or behavior interventionists. 504 plans are accommodation plans. So those are for students either with a diagnosed disability or a perceived disability that is acting as a barrier to them, again, being successful in the classroom. School nurses are available at a tier 2 level for kids who actually need care management plans once they have a chronic illness that has been brought to the attention of the school or the school nurse or diagnosed outside that we're also going to be helping with inside of the school. Grace Health acts as a tier 2 support beyond that basic bumps and bruises to now going into your behavioral support services that offer therapy, counseling to students who need specific behavioral health supports.
Monique, can you say what that REC stands for? What's the RE? Resilience?
Resilience Empowerment Center.
Thank you.
And your student criteria for tier 2 is going to be 2 to 3 office discipline referrals and 0 to 2 out of school suspensions and or. Tier 3 is our top tier supports that are offered. Your behavior interventionists are going to play a huge part in making sure the students are connected with resources at the tier 3 level. They are specialists in child behavioral psychology and response. They deal with and address behaviors that are persistent amongst students and make sure that they have the assessments and resources that they need so that they can continue to receive interventions and be successful in the classroom. Referral to Bearcat Health. Bearcat Health is an organization, is made up of of all organizations in the community who come together and make sure that kids have their resources that need to be met outside of the school environment or outside of the classroom. So you'll have Summit Point, you'll have Grace Health back at the table, you'll have the Community Foundation, and all of these other folks in the room that can help support kids beyond what the school can address on their own. And then you have the RISE program for students who need some intermediate behavioral support. They can help students within small groups to kind of address or manage their social emotional wellness so that they can again be filtered back into the classroom. Another tier 3 support is risk assessments. So when we have signs or statements of students who are going to have self-harm, who are going to do self-harm or who are threatening to harm others, that risk is assessed at the tier 3 level. And for the most part, that assessment is geared to making sure that kids have what they need and conditions are put in place for returning to school again to be successful. Summit Point has a crisis hotline that we're able to call for students who are in crisis or immediate distress. So the school buildings have at their disposal the ability to call that crisis hotline for students who are physically aggressive or are again showing some signs of harm in the school building, elopement or creating other unsafe environments for themselves and other students around them. BIPs on here are behavior intervention plans. So behavior interventionists create behavior intervention plans for students who have tier 3 level behaviors or who have met that tier 3 threshold for needing extended supports, and IEPs at the special education level start to be put in place at the tier 3 level as well per the special education supervisor. The students who are going to fit into the criteria of needing tier 3 supports are at 3 to 4 occurrences of out of school suspension. So that's not necessarily days, but that is occurrences of 1, 2, 3, 4 behaviors that have resulted in a suspension, and 4 or more office discipline referrals, which means that the behavior could not be managed in the classroom and had to go outside of the classroom for management. And then finally, we have extended services. Now, these are services that are offered to students who we wouldn't really say beyond tier 3, but they are well beyond some resources that the school can provide. So we've got psychiatric help at this level. We've got sexual assault services in place at this level, suicide prevention, student diversion programs, substance abuse, and just some really intentional supports that are available in the community and are again connected through Ashley Jones and the district student success team to make sure those students get what they need there.
Monique, would you say that these 6 extended sources do help form that Bearcat Health Committee?
Absolutely. The folks that you see showing up in tier 3 and in the extended services are who you will more than likely see at the table for Bearcat Health. And if it's not the large Bearcat Health group, we have 2 subgroups. One of them is an attendance subgroup, and the other is, that group is designed to help combat chronic absenteeism. And the other subgroup is, Ashley, what's your acronym for the new subgroup? Action.
Yes, it is an action subgroup pretty much, and we are discussing students more on the level that have extended resources, building level. So we're.
Might come up, because the PDF, they won't be able to hear you here.
So it's the district action group. So pretty much it is students that we are discussing where we have extended our resources outside of the building level, and we're coming in more of a case study. So we're talking about students with more intensive needs, and what we can do to pull in action steps before we leave that meeting of what we're doing to make sure that students have what they need inside the building. So more intentional work at that table.
I have a question. This is probably a part of the group you're talking about. So do we do like parent engagement or parent support action plans, particularly like around if we have students with mental health, emotional or behavioral needs? And I know we can't necessarily require parents, right? Because we know that can get complicated, but where we can maybe provide some recommendations or even just working with this. So I'm thinking of a situation when my son was in kindergarten. It was, he was just squeezing his juice box, but the teacher was asking me, what ideas do you have? What do you do at home? So I'm curious, do we do those sort of plans? And then at what tier do we do those?
Yeah, so actually, for the most part, we need parent consent before we move forward with most things.
Okay.
So in student success teams and 504 implementation, IEP implementation, behavior intervention plans, parent voice is at the table for those largely. And any resources that students are referred to, the parents are involved in that as well. So even tier 1 parents are involved. So
Right.
if you see just some small things with kids or even just communication with parent is a tier 1 strategy to make sure that we don't move kids to tier 2s and tier 3s, if we can catch some of that stuff earlier. And who's better to know and help you support children
Right.
with their own family. So yes, parents are very intentionally involved when we have a parent that's available.
Does it involve like recommendations for the family as well? So kind of like a.
So I would say we have a district counselor now. So he's a part of this action group as well. So when we sit down and talk about different ideals and different systems to help support the family, we're very intentional of doing those non-traditional things of, okay, we need to go in and do a home visit.
Yes.
What does that home visit look like outside of normal school hours? Or what does that home visit look like on the weekends? And how can we pull families in to really give them as much information and tools? Because a lot of times they don't know what's accessible.
Right.
And if we're looking to
Right.
show them what's accessible,
Yes.
from the school level, they may not even be coming to school.
Right.
So we have a district counselor that is actually going out, reaching out to those family in those non-traditional settings. We're meeting at the library. We may be meeting at the gym. And we're doing different things like that to make sure the family actually knows what resources are available and we can point them in the right directions.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do have another one. I just want to.
Dr. Johnson? No, go ahead.
What does school-wide social emotional learning look like? I'm just curious, like what's an example of like a school-wide social emotional learning?
Absolutely. So school-wide SEL really looks like person-centered environment for students. So I am providing an environment for a student that may need to come in and just need to be regulated for that day. So at an elementary level, it may look like a student that doesn't really want to come to school because they don't want to really detach from their parents.
Right.
So school-wide would be that there are spaces in that building for a student, and it doesn't have to necessarily be in the classroom. It could be somewhere in the hallway of the building to where they can come and sit in a calming seat. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the teacher. It could be the gym teacher. It could be a Bearcat coach. It could be somebody that can identify with the student, that have a relationship with the student to provide those spaces for that student to be able to really be individualized for what their needs are. At a high school level, it can look like students walking into the building and just need a space to just reflect over what took place over the weekend or need someone to talk to. So they will be provided spaces to where maybe the library, it could be the office, it can be whatever space that they identify. It could be in the lunchroom to the side, but just really creating those welcoming environments to support just the climate and culture of we want you here, we accept you here, and just providing those spaces for intentional learning and intentional social emotional help.
Thank you.
I think to add to that, there are programs
Yeah.
that are available in the school too, but the organicness of what Ms. Jones is talking about, of that just being a part of the school culture. I always like to use an example of an elementary school who created a social emotional response
Yes.
where every student had their name on a popsicle stick. And they had 3 jars. One jar, you put your popsicle stick. If you're doing okay, you're ready to learn. The second jar will be like, I'm just okay. And the third jar will be, I need some attention. And there will be someone that came through the building to make sure, okay, let me get my, I need attention kids. And because it was elementary, the principal said that for the most part, it was something that we would assume to be minor. Oh, I had a fight with my sibling. They took this, but that is still something that could disrupt a second grader's entire day. So that building have figured out.
Yes.
In the beginning of the day, we're gonna take 15 to 20 minutes to get rid of all of this emotional dysregulation. We're gonna figure it out so that we can have the rest of the day
Yes.
to be a learning environment. So those are tools that people can be pretty innovative to come up with too, and not just rely on a program, which are available in schools.
Any other
I have
questions?
one more, sorry.
Go ahead, Dr. Dunn.
So this is around when you guys mentioned mental health. So do we, and this is from my own knowledge, do we have a school psychologist? And we don't need one, but I'm curious if we do we screen for depression? Or is that something that when we refer to Grace Health or one of the community partners that they do the screening for depression and anxiety?
So we do the referral to Grace Health and they
Okay.
do the screening for that. Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I had a question.
Yes, Dr. Perry.
Did you have one?
No, you go first.
So my question was related to Bearcat coaches. It seems like they're like a first level intervention before they get escalated to like a behavioral interventionist. Who oversees training to make sure that they're equipped to respond?
Student services.
Okay.
Yep, so they are with us 1 to 2 times a month
Mhm.
in professional development, and they receive their training through student services in the summer as well. So we also have partners that come in, like right now they're with K-RISA, talking about teamwork and what it looks like at your role to be responsible for these things in the building. They've worked with Truth and Titus. They've gone through crisis prevention intervention training, de-escalation training. So yes, we have them a couple times a month where we're able to engage with them in professional development.
Okay, I have a question. I noticed that you indicated that RISE is there working in small groups. Are they there during the daytime also as well as after school?
Yes, they are there during the daytime for the most part, and that's where their caseloads are geared towards the daytime.
Okay,
And so they have their small groups of students for a period during the daytime. And then this year they're piloting the new after school
okay.
programming as well. So they did start it last year,
Mhm.
but this year it's actually a piece that they're intentionally
Okay.
incorporating into the services that they provide.
Yes, okay. So you talk about space in all the buildings, so we do have enough rooms for everyone to do what needs to be done for the students?
We do, and the success spaces can be in a corner. They
True,
can have a bean bag, they can have just something that offers a space that students can be not completely isolated or excluded, but just that time. So you could be very innovative and in your approach of designing these spaces. So it doesn't have to be a large room or even a room at all. It could just be a space.
okay.
Even in the office, like through Ms. Jones developed a trauma-informed walkthrough rubric. And so on there is geared to see, does the office offer a space where if I'm a student who's in crisis, that I can go here and have a calming space? Yep, it's over here in this corner or in that person's office, or go back by near the nurse. So yes, it's not necessarily a room always, but for the most part, every building does have a
A
designated.
spot, great,
Absolutely. yes.
wonderful, long overdue, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? Thank you, ladies.
All right, thank you
so much.
Okay,
Okay, are you guys back to normal on your
Yep.
screen? Okay.
We're back to normal. Okay, reports and recommendations, Battle Creek Central High School domestic hot water heater, Josh Bowman.
Hi, Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Good evening. On Thursday, October 5th, maintenance crews noticed that a domestic water heater at Central High School had developed a leak in the heat exchanger. Understanding this particular water heater is responsible for hot water supply for the entire building with the exception of the kitchen. We took swift action and contacted the company that installed the heater initially for repair and replacement options. Given that the water heater was installed in 2009 and the typical lifespan of this equipment is 10 to 15 years, we opted to replace the entire unit rather than the heat exchanger itself.
Excuse me, Josh, the mic's not happening for you. No, it's this mic right here for you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, we've got it on the chat.
I think that's
No, that was from
old.
before.
That was
It was?
earlier.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
thank you.
The formal proposal was received, signed, and returned on October 6th with a confirmation of installation date shortly after. The unit was installed and operational by October 11th. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve Allied Mechanical Services in the amount of $26,500 to provide all necessary labor and materials to complete the replacement of the existing domestic hot water heater at Battle Creek Central.
Any questions? Trustee LaValle?
Just a comment. I thought it was really neat that you could go back to the original installer for that Allied Mechanical knew the history of it, and that was nice to have happen.
Yeah, that certainly helps immensely. We need something in a pinch for sure.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment? Thank you. Moving right on to new business. Superintendent goals. In your packet, you found the scorecard. And I also sent out a note. Any discussion on this? Okay, the chair will now entertain a motion. Trustee LaValle?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 2023-2024 superintendent goals.
Support.
It's been moved by trustee LaValle and seconded by First Vice President Fulbright that we approve the 2023-2024 superintendent goals. Any discussion?
Yeah, what are we approving? We're just approving that she needs to perform against the scorecard, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. The chair will now entertain a motion of the BCC domestic hot water heater.
Madam President,
Yes. First Vice President Fulbright.
I move that we approve the Battle Creek Central High School domestic hot water heater replacement in the amount of $26,500 from the sinking fund.
Support.
It's been moved by First Vice President Fulbright, supported by Trustee LaValle, that we approve the Battle Creek Central High School domestic hot water heater. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Superintendent comments, Dr. Mara.
Thank you. Tonight, I'd like to share the details of a few events we have coming up around the district and in the community. First, I'd like to invite the community to Battle Creek Central High School's presentation of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. Tickets will be available at the door for $7 general admission or $5 for senior citizens, children 10 and under, and students with their school ID. There are two performances, both held in the McQuiston Learning Center. The first is Friday, November 10th at 7 p.m. and the second is Saturday, November 11th at 7 p.m. We hope to see you there. I'd also like to invite the community to partake in a delicious spaghetti dinner on Tuesday, October 31st, from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Barista Blues Cafe in downtown Battle Creek. For $15 a plate, you can enjoy a delicious home-cooked meal and support the Battle Creek Central High School Hall of Fame. All proceeds, tips, and donations will support the organization's scholarship fund. So be sure to stop by Barista Blues next Tuesday, October 31st, for your spaghetti dinner. And finally, our partners from the Fire Hub Battle Creek are offering a free Thanksgiving meal inside Battle Creek Central Commons on Thursday, November 23rd, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. All are welcome, and it will be first come, first serve. So be sure to join us for this incredible community event on Thursday, November 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Any board member comments? Trustee LaValle?
Thank you, President Polgray. On the Fire Hub Thanksgiving Community Dinner, what time's that start?
11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Thank you. Student of the Month from the Rotary Club of Battle Creek was held today. Zaire Artis was the recipient from W.K. Kellogg Prep Academy. Denise Anderson, a senior from Battle Creek Central, was also honored at this luncheon for the family members, principals of these students. I attended on October 13th in the morning, the in-person Great Start Collaborative Calhoun County meeting held at the Career Center, along with our elementary superintendent, Greg Bish. This meeting reviewed the year's work for Help Me Grow Calhoun, Early Childhood Connections, CISD. Several work groups are in place to offer resources, ideas to families with very young children. At our Battle Creek Family Y Center, there is a Help Me Grow Calhoun County Family Resource Center. A QAR symbol is available for the Help Me Grow Calhoun network. In the afternoon of October 13th, I attended the excellent panel discussion for BCPS students, interested parents of our high school scholars, to learn all about historically Black colleges and universities, known as HBCUs. 9 HBCUs alumni from Southern University, Grambling, Fort Valley State University, Morehouse, Alabama A&M, Albany State University shared their thoughts, experiences, and tips to many high school students who were attending this panel discussion. We then broke up into small groups that were formed to meet with each graduate. There was enough time to meet 2 individual alumni graduates out of the 9 that were at this panel. It was so informative, and I look forward to future interactions and experiences. Congrats to our staff for this very worthwhile event. On our Facebook district site, pictures are shared of the people who attended, as well as the alumni graduates. On October 19th, the Battle Creek Central Career Exploration Fair took place with a ton of community partners. In fact, I have the blueprint of all the possibilities that the freshman students could attend that morning as well as in the afternoon. And freshman students had a passport to complete as they explored various careers in business, education, engineering and skilled trades, finance, healthcare, informational technology, nursing, and public safety. And it just was, I've been to the very first one that our high school provided for our freshmen when we first became involved with career academies. And this one has to be by far the biggest. And they're even thinking of next year expanding it more because there were some community members that are so still wanting to attend this exploration fair that we host. And finally, I'm looking forward to this Friday attending the annual Freedom Fund celebration dinner that will be at the Cool Family Center. And Dr. Mirror already reminded us about the Hall of Fame dinner that's coming up on October 31st. Thank you for doing that.
Any other board member comments? Dr.
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
So I want to make sure that we invite the community again to join us on November 2nd. So as the redesigning of Northwestern Middle School is underway, there will be a community conversation facilitated by Dr. Harvey to just provide some input and help us, give us some direction on Northwestern, and perhaps at some point even rename the school. So, so inviting community members. And so it's November 2nd, Thursday at noon and at 5:30. So there are 2 times, and it's at Washington Heights United Methodist Church.
Any other board member comments? Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank the board members as well as the community for all the cards, text messages, and flowers that I received while I was at home. And then I also want to thank First Vice President Fulbright and Trustee McClenny for covering this hot seat for me while I was away. And then once again, I couldn't say anything more about the save the date. Like Dr. Johnson indicated, Thursday, November 2nd, we need the community and those that are even interested in having your kid to be part of the Northwestern Performing Arts School. We need for you to come there, get plenty of information on what's happening there, as well as what's happening in Washington Heights community. And she indicated 2 sessions, one at noon and another one at 5:30. And then I'd like to encourage all the parents to get out and check out the parent-teacher conferences, find out what's going on in the building, as well as find out what's going on with your children. Any other information coming for the board? If not, this meeting is adjourned.